All right, traders, welcome back to another video of the weekly setups, and we're gonna take care of the euro pairs on this video. So let's just jump right into it here. All right, so Euro USD, first day of the week here. We can see our Asian box here, and then of course we get our fake move here, trying to get traders to go long. And then of course we end up getting a star pattern here, and this would have been the trade. And as I told you before, if you go back into the charts, typically we see this kind of move Sunday, Monday, because they're setting pretty much they're pretty much setting up the whole week, at least the first half of the week, with this. So it's very nice, slow and steady, slow and steady, slow and steady. So yeah, so this would have been the trade here, and you would have looked at about 80 pips or so on this one. So very nice trade, very good setup here with the star pattern. All right, so next day here, you could have seen a lot of different things, right? This looks like a whole mess. There's two possible real things that are pretty clear here. Okay. One is this, so this could have been a trade, or obviously the one that's pointed out, which is this one here, coming off of the open of the U.S. session when we get railroad tracks here. Okay, so the obvious M formation, or this one here in railroad tracks. Okay. Those would have been the only two trades that are clear to see, number one, and that are tradable. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So type 1 setup here with the M, and then this one here is just a railroad track. This would have been a type 2 setup, with it being on the low of the Asian range here. Okay. This one here, this would have been like we talked about on, what was it, for Wednesday, where we did not get any setups on this at all, as far as like any kind of, we know it's a type 3 setup, obviously, because it bounced off of the middle of the range, but we didn't get any kind of real setup of, hey, it's a star pattern, or, quarter wood, or whatever, right? We didn't get that kind of setup. So it's not something that, could have been taken. If you go down here, though, you do see some fake outs that you could have been taken for, right? You could have been taken out there. That would have been a bad trade. This one here, would have been a bad trade too, because obviously it didn't go anywhere. And I'm not talking about that as an M here. I'm talking about this here. If you would have traded this railroad track here. Okay. Yeah, you could have gone up here, but I mean, it's not really, what were we talking, like 10 pips or something like that. It just wasn't, 11 pips. It just wasn't, we didn't have any good, trade. This would not have been a good trading day for Euro USD, unless you got, somehow on that and stuff. So no trades on that day. And that was, I think, the same day on the pound pairs as well, Wednesday, where it didn't provide us with the setup that we needed to take advantage of it. So, all right. So on this one here, can you see the trade setup? So the trade setup on this one here would have been during U.S. session, and it would have been railroad tracks, right? So it would have been that railroad track here. So that would have been about 50 pips or so. So that would have been the best setup available there. Now, some of you may have seen the W formation here, and that would have been like a type 3 setup. It's in the middle of the range. That's perfectly fine. You could have taken it to Mayo. Not a lot of, 17 pips or so if you're taking it to Mayo, because you're starting out on water. Okay, so typically when you start out on water, not a lot of there's not a lot of pips to be had in between water and Mayo. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But you could have traded it both ways, where if you would have went the W form here and then traded the railroad track on the way down for the reversal of the US session. All right. So, and then on Friday here, we essentially had two trade setups here on Friday on Euro USD. The first one would have been this one here. So there, stop loss here, and then of course your take profit would have been 30 to 50 pips. So this one would have given you about 35 pips. And then the second trade setup was literally right after it during US session, beginning of the US session. You had the star pattern here. You could have taken all the way up to Mayo. So that would have been another 42 pips or so. Okay, so those that would have been if you traded it both ways, could have had two setups there on Euro USD on Friday. All right,